Hello everyone, my name is Joe and welcome to Talk to Talk. My co-host Karen and Frank. Frank, how you doing today?
Not too bad. I'm getting over reading all those reviews about saying goodbye to David Letterman finally after so many years on the air. And it's funny because I was on that show, believe it or not, and I never got credited for it. And that ticked me off a little bit. So saying goodbye to David, I have no problem with it.
So you were actually interviewed by David Letterman?
Not really. He was doing these Thanksgiving specials for a couple of years. I guess, what, maybe like 10 years ago. They were not really big ratings, so they kind of like stopped it. But next to the last Thanksgiving show, he would have a segment where he would look at people in the street. He had a camera posted right outside the David Letterman Theater. At Sullivan Theater, should I say. And had
so you weren't actually on the show itself?
Not on the show itself.
What kind of credit do you want from him?
Well, the thing was, the segment was kind of embarrassing because it was people in the streets, and I happened to be standing right in front of the Pussycat Theater.
Okay.
And so, well, there goes a regular.
Okay.
And I wasn't. I just happened to be walking down at a particular time.
And they interviewed you on the street.
In the street.
Well, they do that all the time. Like even when there's baseball games, and then they talk to the people that are outside the parking lot. They don't have the credit at the end of the show,
right,
or at the end of the game. So why would you want your name when they probably spoke to a lot of other people too?
Well, then it wasn't that they even talked to me. It was just they kind of snapped on me, and then they what they did was technically, legally, is they should be asking people permission. So somebody should have been there, coming up to me with a form saying, we just recorded you, do we have your permission? They didn't do that because the show was particularly live. I was recorded live.
Did you know it was the David Letterman show?
I wasn't. I knew there was a camera. I did because I was a messenger at that particular time, and I knew the show was recorded, and I knew somebody was telling me, but they have those cameras posted outside because that's what they do the interviews. So I was happening to be stopping right in front of that theater for seeing something that was happening across the street. And then I looked up and I noticed the camera. That was the funny thing about the show, that I was actually looking at the camera. I did not realize that I was actually being recorded, but the recording live. And I missed the show because I wasn't really that interested. Later that night, they recorded live, and then it's delayed the show for later on to be presented later on that night.
You should have told the cameraman, well, you do know that I don't want to be recorded. And I don't want to be on the show.
I should have said something. Maybe I should have said something.
Because they're going to do whatever they want to do anyway. So
that is true. But then it was I didn't find out until the next day when my friends said, hey, we saw you on the David Letterman show. And they snapped on you, saying, hey, he's a regular visitor at Pussycat Theater. Luckily, I don't think anybody saw the show. And that was like 15 years ago. But, there was a little bit of embarrassment, especially in front of my girlfriend. She was saying, what were you doing at the Pussycat Theater? Honey, it's not what you think, okay? I would just happen to be stopping by. That caused a lot of fights. Maybe that's why I'm pissed off at David Letterman. Anyway, after so many years, he's finally...
I don't watch David Letterman anyway, so I'm not a big fan of him.
You're not a big fan, right?
No. I can't stay up that late anymore.
Well, actually, nobody watches these shows anymore. Everybody basically either the VOD...
Can you stay up? I'm sorry, but can you stay up that late?
I don't usually make it that late.
You don't make it that late either?
No, not
party
unless there's somebody that I really want to see.
Right, but you did mention before the show that you happen to be a Jimmy Fallon fan, right?
Oh, he's hilarious. He's so funny, and he's up on current events. He's got top music performers on. The comedians are awesome, and he cracks himself up, which cracks me up.
Yeah.
So he laughs at his own jokes.
He laughs at what's going on, during his show, and next thing you know, I'm sitting there all by myself laughing because it's funny. He's funny.
Yeah, he does have a good sense of humor about himself, and people like that.
Yeah.
That's a good reflection of that. So
I think he's going to be, of course he's been around for a long time already, but I think he's going to be on late night for a long time. I think people really enjoy him. What do you think?
But wasn't he on late night anyway? He had his own show.
He has his own show, yeah.
And how long has it been running?
Well, wasn't he on Saturday Night Live?
Yeah, he came in.
So he was on Saturday Night Live, then he's done other things, and now he has his own show.
Okay. But didn't David Letterman leave once before the show was canceled or something like that? And
well, the whole history was that...
Where does Jay Leno come in the picture here?
Okay, there was a bit of confusion. Everybody knows about the story of Conan O'Brien, where he was going to take over the spot for Jay Leno, which he did, and he bombed at the ratings, and they brought Jay Leno back. Okay, before that, once upon a time, David Letterman, when Johnny Carson announced that he's going to retire, who's going to take over? And it was going to be a battle between Jay Leno and David Letterman. And
so it had nothing to do with the David Letterman show.
Right, this was before the David Letterman. The David Letterman show got created because he was fighting to get on Johnny Carson. He wanted that spot, and they wouldn't give him that spot, and that's how David Letterman show came to be, and that's how Jay Leno took over that spot. So there was a big controversy about Jay Leno and David Letterman that they're going on for a while. So there was a lot of controversy, and now as it turns out, Jimmy Fallon, out of all people, took over, and who cares who's taking over David Letterman? And on the other side of the spectrum, you have Jimmy Kimmel, who's got his own serious fan base. But because he's based in L.A., he gets a lot of movie stars coming on, you know. So and he's got really good, decent ratings. And his thing is, he's got a YouTube audience. He takes his shows and puts it on YouTube.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So he's got that YouTube family going.
So he's got both sides of it.
Yeah. That's what keeps him going. But what was the thing you did not like about David Letterman? Not that we're saying goodbye to him.
I'm not saying I don't like him or dislike him. I just never really watched the show. First of all, it was like late night, and that's I don't make it that late at night anymore anyway, so I never really watched it. But to me, it's like those type of shows, and then like Johnny Carson and shows. I just don't. It's not an interest to me. Right. So that's why I'm not into that. So, and I'm not going to stay up late at night deliberately just to watch something that it's not going to be interesting.
And especially nowadays, what's happening is a lot of people do not stay up. They, like I said, they're
exhausted. You work all day.
Yeah, it shows up on the next morning. Like Saturday Night Live, you got Yahoo News, Entertainment News, and they show you segments. And you got Hulu. Hulu shows you Saturday Night Live the next day. So you got all these different channels to watch a show. If you don't catch it on, same thing like superhero shows, Arrow, Gotham. If you don't see it that particular night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, when the shows are presented, the next day Hulu's got it, and not even Hulu Plus, Hulu free.
That's and then they don't even last the season. You could be into a show and you watch maybe 3 or 4 episodes, and before you know it, it's not even picked up again for the next year or the next season. And then you got into the show, and now all of a sudden it's not on anymore. So what do you do?
Right. Oh, that happens to a show like Blacklist. They get you, really a sector for the story. You put all that time invested, and then they present maybe 4 to 6 shows, and they say, well, we're taking a break. We'll see you in about 2 months.
Yeah.
And then you get like 2 months worth of repeats, and then by then you find something else, and the competition is really furious out there.
Right.
You know,
that's right.
You got not only you have the regular TV shows, then you have shows specifically made for Netflix, for Hulu. Amazon is getting into the game. So, and then they wonder why people's attention span is so narrow. Too many shows, so little time to watch.
And even with the competition shows, I don't like it when they have judges, but then at the same time, the big portion of the votes come from the viewers.
Right.
I mean, if it's a dance show or show that is singing this and that, why are they giving that to the viewers, to keep the
viewers
score.
Watching? That's what they're doing. To keep
I
the
know
people
that,
interested.
but that's because I was watching American Idol,
right?
And it was three competitors over there, and one of them was fantastic. I don't know what her name was, but she was just fantastic. Every time I was watching it, and then they booted her. And then they left some other individual that he's a country singer, because I know there's a lot of country singers out there, a lot of country fans out there. So he was there, but I don't think he had a really good voice. And even when he was singing, he wasn't a showman. He didn't keep your interest while you. And then there was another individual which he did win, but he was good. But why did they boot the woman individual? She had so much talent. She had a great voice. She played piano. She did original songs, and it was just fantastic watching her. But then all of a sudden they booted her off, and I'm like, and why? And it was like, well, the viewers vote.
But that's what keeps the viewers watching. It keeps them on the hook to see where their votes got them.
Yeah, but
you were saying that people lose interest in
even if you don't vote, you can still get into the show by watching it and seeing the talent, and then you want to know who wins.
People want to see if who they voted for is going to continue on. So I think they're smart in doing that to a point, because it keeps the viewers on the hook to see if the people that they're voting for are moving forward. That doesn't necessarily mean that who you think is the better talent or who you think is the better talent is going to win. we all have a say in it now, and that's what keeps us watching, and that's what keeps those shows going on for a long time instead of a couple of episodes, like you said.
Right.
And then on to the next thing.
And then you'll get an individual that was booted off the show, probably making it into the music world.
She's definitely
and the one that
it.
wins is not going to make it because he really didn't have the talent. It was the viewers' votes that made him get up there. I don't like that. That's like Dancing with the Stars, too. Same thing.
Yeah. I remember one season, I forgot, I'm not too sure.
I mean, because you have a panel of all these people that are talented, and that was their profession. They were dancers or whatever in the past, and now they're voting, and then all of a sudden their vote don't mean anything because of the viewers' vote.
Right. That would change.
Yeah, but also you can't say that it's, you know, that anybody's prejudice or partial to one or the other. You know, just say that they're saying one of the judges is partial to so-and-so, and that's why they keep on going through. They're combining their votes along. But the judges aren't doing that.
The judges are going by what they see, what they know about, like with Dancing with the Stars. They see what's going on.
Right, but
they see how the steps are.
always going to have a complaint.
But then you'll have the viewers that have like these celebrities that come on the show, but they love them because they grew up with those celebrities, but they're not actual dancers. And you can see it, but when you're watching the show, you see some of these dancers, they have no idea what they're doing, but they're constantly making it to the next level and the next level because these people that love them and they grew up with them.
Right.
You know?
That happened with Cheech and Chong.
That's just not fair.
Yeah, Cheech and Chong, everybody said, okay, he's going to be off, he's probably going to be the first dancer off. And I think he was next to like the top 4 or something like that. Maybe because people just loved his attitude.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And
Chrissy Alley was the same thing.
Exactly.
Patti LaBelle, when she was on, okay, she was a good dancer, but she wasn't fantastic.
Right.
But they'll keep on having her come on the show next season, and next week and next week, and then you have somebody that danced fantastic got booted off because they voted for Patti LaBelle. And why? Because most of these people that grew up in her time voted for her. You know?
That happened at American Idol. I believe his name was Doherty. And everybody said this guy should win American Idol. This guy could sing, he could play, and he had one hell of a voice. He took on a Queen song and pulled it off. You know, trying to reproduce Freddie Mercury's vocals is one hell of a challenge. And next thing you know, he was like number 6, and he got booted off. And the guy who won, I believe it was some guy there, and he was a half-ass singer, and he won. or maybe that year was a female. But the top 5 people left were all mediocre at best. And but one of them won that year. But luckily, with his case, he managed to pull it off where he said, well, screw this. And he went on to have a great career with his band. And as his next album that got released right after American Idol, after his presentation, it went out to sell 2 million copies. So he did okay. So he basically said, screw American Idol. This is all bullshit. You know?
No, I think the exposure was good for him.
Yeah, in his case, the exposure was good. But it goes to show you, somebody with that good enough of talent, but at the end, somebody else wins.
They still have to appreciate the exposure. I know what you're saying. Sometimes it doesn't seem right. But you got to appreciate the opportunities. Because without that opportunity, there's a good chance that we all may not know who he was, but we all know who he is.
Right.
Well, we need to take a short break right now, and we'll be back with Talk to Talk. Welcome back to Talk to Talk. We were talking about late night shows before the break. What about daytime shows?
Well, I believe in that. I'm a big fan of View. I love Whoopi Goldberg, Rosie Perez. I think they're going in the right direction, and you know they had some multiple guest hosts going back and forth. But another show that I was really surprised, and I actually got hooked on it. I'm not really big on cooking shows. Besides Rachel Ray, she used to still doing a show before The View, but after that, a show called The Chew, which got a lot of Emmys, believe it or not, and I really got hooked on that show.
What's The Chew about?
The Chew,
heard about that.
It's a great show where there's 5 different chefs, 5 different personalities, and basically they just talk about food, different recipes and menus, and and they really have a great rap together, and the show's actually funny, and it's really uplifting, and they show you, what I love about the show is they show you a lot of healthy cooking. And if you're like,
I'm tired of healthy cooking.
I know.
You got to give me my pasta, my pizza, and I'm fine. Nice chocolate cake at the end, I'm happy.
Well, you can't go wrong with chocolate cake.
That's right.
But I like that each one of them brings their own flair to the show.
Right.
And whether it's healthy or sometimes maybe a little bit not so healthy, each one has their own style. So they bring something for everyone in that show. Don't you agree?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, they all have different personalities. Even though they have the same goal, they all love eating. Yep. We all love eating. You can't go wrong with that, But I mean, the way the show is presented, and I'm surprised they got so many Emmys. Usually, daytime Emmy awards are usually scattered all over the place. But they walked away with a lot, though. But you're not big on cooking shows yourself, right? Usually,
I'm not really big on. I don't mind watching some of the cooking shows, but not the ones that are basically dealing with just healthy foods.
Right. I mean, Rachel Ray, she tries to do that also, but then she has these little cheese with these little funny little cakes, So you can try a little piece here, a little piece there. And my attitude about life is always about cake. You can never have enough cake. And somebody tries to take a piece of cheesecake away from me, those are like fighting terms right there.
Now everybody's telling you can't eat that. You can't eat this. You should be eating that. You should be drinking this. You should be drinking that. How do you feel about that?
Well, this morning there was a big thing on the news. And
that's mostly our government.
Yeah,
saying
of course.
That to us.
Well, that's another conversation altogether. Look what they're doing to our food.
That's what I like to talk about here.
Look what they're doing to our food.
They made something on what was that, a Daily News.
I mean, they're telling you what size drink to buy
As
now.
we're going to mention, they said, you got to watch out for your alcohol intake. Too much alcohol.
But we're not even talking about alcohol. We're talking about soft drinks. Soft drinks.
Right. But
and they're telling you what your child should drink or not. Okay, you should be aware of that. You got a child, you're a parent, you got to be aware of what they're eating, what they're drinking. But at the same time, I don't think the government should be jumping in and telling you how to parent your child. Well, and that's exactly what they're doing.
And they also shouldn't be putting all those additives in our food so that they have to tell you how to parent your child. That's another conversation altogether.
Well, the thing I saw this morning was they say too much alcohol drinking will affect you when you get older. In the meantime, you see somebody drinking wine. And let me tell you, if you go to France, they love their smoke, they love their fatty steaks, and they're living to about 100. And you know what they drink? Wine. Everybody knows wine is the best alcohol for you because it actually does things in your body, and mainly because it's made out of grapes. One of the healthiest things you can eat on the planet is grapes, which is what wine is made of. And this thing in the morning saying, this alcohol with wine is no good for you. Yeah, right. Okay, it's the same thing like cholesterol. Remember all these years? Cholesterol is no good for you.
With eggs. First of all, they told you that you shouldn't be eating eggs too many days a week.
Crap.
And then all of a sudden now they said it's good for you at least 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And the same thing like with the wine. When they're saying you shouldn't have a glass of wine every day of the week. But then now all of a sudden, maybe a little half a glass of wine every day of the week is pretty good.
How big is that glass? Half a glass?
My half a glass is like this.
That's what I'm saying.
I just drink straight from the bottle.
You have it with a meal, that's not bad. You have people that are drinking it 24 hours a day, but if you have it with a meal, that's not too bad. But the government's trying to tell you that that's bad too. I mean, what's an individual supposed to do?
Right. How many times when anybody grew up on a farm like I did, you would have your eggs, you have your bacon, you have your cheese, you have your toast, home fries, whatever combination and stuff like that. And farmers live to 80, 90 years old over here. Now they tell you everything that's on a morning menu from a farmland is no good for you. Half the brain is made out of cholesterol, for crying out loud. In the meantime, they say you're not supposed to have cholesterol, okay? So that's why all your foods, they replace the fat, they take the fat out. Great movie by Katie Couric, I forget the name of it. Look it up on IMDb. And that movie said basically what the government did was take all the fat out, and they had to replace it with something. Sugar. If you have any kind of food that you naturally had fat, and they take the fat out, the food tastes like crap. They put sugar in. Then they wonder why the obesity level is going through the roof. Why? Because everybody has food, has sugar in their food. If you go to the supermarket and you look on the shelves, beans has sugar. Why do beans have sugar? Because they took the fat out. What was fat doing in there in the first place? Beyond me. So you go to any food product on the shelf, 90% of the food product on the shelf has sugar. That's not supposed to be there in the first place, right? Because they replaced the fat. because of the whole cholesterol angle.
Are you talking about canned beans or dry beans? How do you?
Canned beans with the
sauce
sauce and everything like that. Okay. But everybody knows about cereal. Chicken noodle soup. Remember Campbell's chicken noodle soup? Very plain, very simple, maybe 3 ingredients.
But there was a lot of sodium in the Campbell's chicken soup.
Yeah, they took that out and they replaced it with the sugar. Now you're getting twice as fat.
When they could have just left it the way it was, and then all you had to do is just add a little bit more water to it.
What happened to good old homemade cooking? Stop eating stuff out of the can and
nobody has homemade cooking anymore.
Come to my house, I'll cook for you.
Well, then that's good. Call Karen if you want a homemade cooked meal.
There you go. There you go.
But that's the problem with today. Young couples, young people that get married, is that they're working, like I said, 12, maybe 13, 14-hour days. They come home. The first place that they stop to is these pizzerias that have everything that you can have for dinner, and you just order it, and that's it.
Right.
And no one cooks anymore, so that's why everybody's eating unhealthy. What's a person to do?
Yeah, well, all the fast food places.
Especially when you're working so hard and you're working long hours, what are you going to do when you get home? You're going to make a home cooked meal?
I do.
For maybe.
I do. And I do it when it's just me. When nobody's home, I still do it for myself.
But I'm talking about...
You're talking about society.
Right now. The younger generation, the new generation, whatever you want to call it.
And that's why people aren't healthy anymore.
That's how they're being raised.
Right. Also, let's not forget...
and they're not even eating together on the dining room table anymore.
No, that's
the way it used to be. The whole family used to be there, talk about the day, whatever, school. You talk to your kids more often. Now they're eating at all totally different times.
Well, they don't even hang out together watching TV because everybody got their own little equipment, either tablets, iPhones, watching their movies,
video games.
Video games.
The parents are upstairs eating or whatever they're doing, and the kids are downstairs in the basement. Like gophers playing video games.
They're all at the table.
It's a gorgeous day outside, and you're like, well, why don't you get upstairs?
Yeah.
That used to be a big fight at my house. My kids would be underneath the table. They would be eating with one hand underneath the table like this. I'm like, no phones at the table. That was the rule. No phones at the table. But they would find a way to sneak it, hide it, tuck it underneath somewhere. I see them looking like this. You need some family time. We're losing a sense of family and who we are.
We are.
Who we're supposed to be. We're not raising our families anymore. The TV, the video games, all the different sites and everything, that's what they're interested in. They're not interested in family time because most families are not forcing it.
Whose fault is that?
Well, I say it's the family's fault because you need to take that away from them for dinner time or an hour.
How could it be the family's fault? Let's just say...
Listen, I got those phones away from my kids, and they stopped
They're making you work longer hours, and these people don't, you don't know what to do anymore. You have to work those long hours to pay the bills.
Right.
If you don't want to work the long hours, they'll just say, well, there's the door. It's not like it used to be where corporate or business owners cared about their employees and the families, and they want them to have family time. It's changed. Now, there's the door if you can't work these hours. Right. So now the dad or the mom, whatever you want to call it, because they're both working these days. It's not just the dad working anymore. So they come home late hours, and the kids had a pizza or whatever, this and that. That's how everything starts. So who do you blame? Now, how can the mother or the father tell these kids, stop eating the pizza when they're not even home because they're working late, trying to pay the bills? How can they feed them good food?
I don't agree with that, because you could leave a healthy snack for them, come home, have something prepared. Take a few hours a couple of nights a week, prepare a few things, have it in the fridge. This way you have a healthy meal ready.
But what about individuals that don't like those leftovers? They want something fresh. I'm one of those individuals, believe it or not. I just can't eat anything leftover. Even though it's a good meal, I don't like leftover meals. It has to be fresh, and then I'll eat it.
But you could do all the prep and then put it together.
And kids today, that's how they are. If the taste isn't there, because leftovers kind of lose the taste every now and then.
I'm not a big fan of leftovers, but you can prep your food and put it together and still have family time a little bit later. You have to find a way to make it work. If you don't find a way to make it work, family is just going to be a word. It's not going to be anything anymore. Because family...
Well, that's the way it's turning into.
It is. Yeah. But when you're saying whose fault is that...
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Who's to blame?
We're to blame. The ones with the families who are not putting their foot down and not doing something about making it a point to have family time. You have to make it a point. You have to, if you could schedule every other event in your life, then you could schedule family time. It doesn't have to be 7 days a week, but make it, start out with 2 and then make it 3 and make it, you have to entice the kids a little bit when you're away from them that much. Make it fun for them, include them in on things, or have an event along with a meal, you know, a certain topic or something, you know, that you're offering them to make them want to sit there with you.
Right.
I think
well,
it's
a lot of companies today, they don't even have the individuals have holiday time anymore. They're working during the holidays sometimes. So what do you do with that? Holiday barbecues, holiday getaways, weekend getaways, whatever. A lot of people work weekends now too.
Yeah, I work Saturdays too.
So what happens with that?
Right. Just to take advantage of the overtime.
Is that the parents' fault?
Well, my daughter's
when
older,
dad
so my
tells their
daughter
kid,
works
well,
Saturday
we can't
too,
go
so
away this weekend, or if it's a holiday weekend, we can't go away this weekend because guess who's working this weekend, you know?
Right.
You can make it a day and a half. You could make it a one-day trip to the beach or wherever your family likes to go. There's ways around it. There are ways around it.
It's funny. There's two cartoons that just popped in my head. The Simpsons and American Dad, and you always see them around the kitchen table, you know, eating.
Right.
And I'm looking at like I don't know any families that do that kind of structure no more, you know.
Blue Bloods. You watch Blue Bloods?
Yes.
Every episode you watch Blue Bloods, at the end of the show, they're sitting around the dining room table eating their dinner.
Right.
I agree with you. I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
Like I don't see it happening in my family.
Right.
With my nephews and my brother-in-laws and my sisters.
Like you said, if they do somehow get together, gathering at the dinner table, right? They all got the gizmos. They're not communicating and relating to each other as a family.
Right.
You know, in their own little space, like their own little cubicle, invisible cubicle, going like this. Yes, Dad, can you just pass the thing there? No, never mind, I'll get it myself. And they still texting or doing the video game.
It's funny, but it's not funny.
Yeah, but that is the case. And I've seen that. I know a family who in my building, they do get together, but there's no eye contact, no relating. How was your day? How was school? How was work? Nothing, because I got invited to one. And I'm looking at everybody. It's like, hello, you invited me. Hello, I'm here. I was
but how do we change it?
Listen,
that's
kids
what
don't
I'd like
know how
to
to
know.
Communicate anymore. Because
who do you go to change it?
You have to go to yourself. You have to limit their time on the computer with their phones and things like that. They don't know how to communicate.
So the parents need to put their foot down with their
to
children.
To a point. I mean, of course you want them to fit in society, but you have to put your foot down to a point because they don't know how to communicate and have conversations with one another anymore. They don't know how to make a phone call to call their friends to see what's going on.
Right, it's all texting.
The question is now, when the kids are old enough, they have their own jobs, and now their jobs are telling them they have to work those long hours. Now you're making that time to get the family together and have that nice structure going and this and that at the dinner table all together. All of a sudden, your son or your daughter has a job where they have to work the long hours. What happens then? Who's to blame?
Well,
and how do we change that?
You don't have to blame anyone. What you have to do is make it a priority. My daughter
But isn't it up to the individual? Okay, if we're talking about it's up to the individual,
right.
That means now that individual has to go to their boss and say, well, I like my family time. I like this. I like that.
Right.
Isn't that what has to start before to make anything change?
It depends on what we're talking about. I could always make some I can't make family time every day. I mean, my children are older. You know, my rule was every night we had to eat together. Then I had to get rid of that because now who's working and who has whatever going on. But it came down to we all have Sunday dinner together. Whether it's an early dinner or late dinner, depending on what's going on, you need to keep the family together. One day a week doesn't feel like enough, but it has to start somewhere.
Right.
Okay, well, we're just going to wrap up right now, and I want to thank Frank and Karen for being with me. And that is our episode, and hopefully we'll see you again on Talk to Talk.
Was that allowed to say bullshit?
I don't know if you said it or not.
You did say it.
I didn't hear you say it.
I heard him.
Okay.
You gotta say BS, dude.
Well, it's still a PG word. We still allow one F word if we go for the PG-13 rating.
Can we see how it looks?
Yeah, can you play that back?
I can't. Not until we finalize.
You finalize, okay.
Yeah, so then we wouldn't be able to record anymore on the DVD.
Okay.
But everything looks good. I mean, you guys, what do you want to do here?
Did the flow look pretty good?
Yeah,
the flow of the conversation.
Yeah, you guys had it rolling. There was no low moments. Do you want to just keep rolling, or what do you want me to do? You want to stop it here?
Yeah.